Welcome to New York's #2 sports show. The Yankees lose 2 of 3 to the Chicago Cubs at Yankee Stadium heading into the All-Star break. So going on a low note, won the first game about as perfect as you can, honestly. Carlos Rodón, 8 shutout innings, and Carlos Rodón actually named an All-Star, replacing Max Fried. Um, Max Fried ends up leaving game 2 with a blister, but it was unrelated. That move had already happened prior to that because Fried was pitching on Saturday. I guess they felt that if he wasn't going to start, which Tariq Skubal will be the starter, that it wasn't worth it for Fried to pitch in that game. Anyway, though, Cody Bellinger hits 3 home runs in game 1, almost 4, actually. Kyle Tucker robbed him of a 4th home run, which would have been only the 20th player in history to have 4 home runs in a game. And Aaron Judge made a bunch of great plays in right field. So dominating win for the Yanks in game 1. And then just the offense was completely shut down in games 2 and 3 by lefties Matthew Boyd and Shota Imanaga. And look, those are 2 really good pitchers, but still, it was bad. I mean, in game 2, really, Yankees were shut out. I mean, literally until the 9th inning, where Aaron Judge would hit his 35th homer of the year and 350th of his career. And then in game 3, they only had 2 hits. Giancarlo Stanton homer, Austin Wells single. And as far as, the Cubs, they faced 28 batters, so just one above the minimum because there was a double play on the Austin Wells single after that. There was also a Jazz Chisholm walk, and he was out caught stealing. So not great. And it kind of was, coming off of the sweep of the Mariners, if they had just won this series, the vibes would have been positive. Now, look, still a lot of holes to be filled. I feel like this is almost a more deserving way to head into the break. Now, look, they're 53 and 43. It's okay. Like the overall record, it's a little underwhelming, I'd say, if we're being honest. I think that record should be better than what it is, and it's not. They've lost a lot of close games. And right now, this AL East race, it's pretty interesting and ever evolving. I mean, they're 2 games behind Toronto, so right within striking distance, but, no one would have necessarily thought that would have been the case, that Toronto would be first in the division. And now the Boston Red Sox, they're at a 10-game winning streak heading into the All-Star break. They are only 1 game back of the Yanks, 2 on the loss side. That is crazy. And they actually swept the Rays in 4. So now the Rays have dropped down just a little bit. Not terribly far. I mean, I guess they're about 5.5 games back of Toronto, but it's a 4-team race. I mean, this division is clearly the best in terms of depth, right? You want to go top 4, top 5. It really doesn't get any better than this. Certainly top 5, right? Baltimore as a 5th place team in a division you look at the other 5th place teams, Baltimore is much better. The point is and the Yankees have struggled in division. I think that overall, the Yankees probably have the most talent, even with the injuries that they've sustained, but a lot of moves need to be made. 2.5 weeks or so until the trade deadline, and I think that, this bullpen needs a lot of help, really does. The rotation could use at least 1 starter, and that's assuming that Luis Seal comes back and is healthy and good. And even still, you could probably use really 2. Bullpen as well. I think you could use multiple arms out there. And then as far as the lineup goes, third base is a major hole. And that's not even mentioning Anthony Volpe struggles with shortstop, offense and defense. So I definitely have my concerns for this team. Do I think they'll make the playoffs? Yes, I do. Do I think they'll win the division? Yes. I feel pretty good about that. And the American League as a whole, it's nothing crazy. As much as I respect specifically the Detroit Tigers, I think that pitching plays. And I do feel as if Comerica Park, it could be a problem for some teams, but they don't have the pedigree, to be fair, right? Whereas the Astros do, but they're kind of on a surprise. Like, you got to give them credit. They don't have Yordan Alvarez, and yet, they have been really good. They've struggled very lately. But the point is, the National League is really where it's at. As far as some of the heavy hitters go in Major League Baseball. So I think the Yankees, with the right moves, they can find themselves back in the World Series. I don't think that's impossible by any means, but there's a lot of work to be done, and a lot of holes that need to be filled for sure. And it sucks too leaving the series that Cody Bellinger had his hitting streak snapped at 17 games, and he was one batter away from getting a chance in that inning to maybe extend it, and he was left sitting on deck, and wasn't able to even get that chance. So he only had 3 at bats, so it's going to be even tougher to get a hit when you only have 3 plate appearances. Um, but cool that Cody against his former team, and he had a lot of good success with the Cubs, especially in his first year. But the Cubs was a place for Cody Bellinger to kind of revive his career after some down times with the Dodgers by the end of it. And boy, like he was going in scorching hot and then forget about it after that game one. So going back to kind of the All-Star game thing, as we kind of touch on game one, Carlos Rodón, you know, he ends up with just an unbelievably great outing. So you kind of feel good about his All-Star nod after this one. Um, and again, Max Fried, he'll attend the festivities, but he won't take part in the game. And that would have been further true after the blister injury. We don't even know if he's going to pitch in that Braves series, which I'm sure that's a tough blow for him. I'm sure he had that circled on his calendar, having been with the Braves his whole career, in Atlanta. There's still a chance he starts, but I don't know. My gut tells me that he doesn't. My gut tells me that they play it cautious to the point where he will not be in that series. So when we preview the Atlanta series, not going to be able to give you the pitching probables. It's just too unknown, probably on both sides. I assume for Atlanta as well. Nothing has been announced on that front. But game one, Rodón wins to go to 10-6, 8 innings, 4 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. When he's on, he's on. Really. And for the Cubs, it was Chris Flexen who didn't do particularly well. Kept him in, I guess. 4 innings, picks up his first loss to drop to 5-1. 4 innings, 3 hits, 3 runs, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts. And this was kind of a bullpen type game. Like, the Yankees had the advantage going in from the pitching side of it, no doubt. As far as the lineup goes, Dominguez continues to lead off against righties. That continues to be the case. Out in this game was Trent Grisham, Giancarlo Stanton, and Austin Wells. Oswald Peraza starts all 3 games. That makes sense against the lefties. This one, they could have went Bebas, but again, the Flexen thing, it was kind of seen like he was more of an opener, so I guess that was the reasoning behind that. And probably as well why Paul Goldschmidt started too. So tougher to get a full read on why this lineup was the way it was. But every Yankee in this starting lineup had a hit except for Aaron Judge. And still, Judge had a couple of walks, made a ton of amazing defensive plays. I'll say one right off the jump. Well, maybe there's 2. He robs Pete Crow Armstrong of a home run. And then later on makes a diving catch for Rodon's last out in the 8th. So in case I didn't want to miss, because there was another good one where he comes in on the ball and makes a diving play, but really some spectacular work from Judge. But starts out scoreless the first couple of innings, and then in the third, Judge gets a sac fly to give the Yanks a 1-0 lead, and then Cody Bellinger gets his first of 3 home runs on the night, 14th homer of the year at that point. 2-run homer makes it 3-0 Yankees. Then in the 4th is where Judge robs Crow Armstrong of the homer. Then in the bottom of the 5th, they bring on the lefty Thielbar, the former Twin, and it's a 2-run homer for Bellinger. His 15th of the year, makes it 5-0 Yankees. Then Jordan Wicks comes on for the lefty for the Cubs. You get an RBI double by Volpe. If Volpe were to hit anyone, it would be against a lefty. Just throwing that out there. He really cannot do anything against righties. Against lefties, there are times where he'll have some level of success. And so that makes it 6-0 in the 6th. And then the 7th is where Bellinger is robbed at the time of his 3rd homer by Kyle Tucker. Short porch and right. Great catch by Tucker, former Astro. And so the score remains 6-0. To which eventually in that inning, Paul Goldschmidt gets an RBI single to make it 7-0. He had a 3-hit night as well, Goldschmidt, with a couple of doubles. Again, his success is really, 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 really prominent against lefties. Again, for him as well, like Volpe, it's different. Goldschmidt's more to the extreme for sure. But Goldschmidt has his struggles against righties, but he is just as good as it gets against lefties. Then JC Escara gets an RBI single to make it 8-0 Yanks. In the top of the 8th is where Judge actually robs Tucker and keeps the shutout intact for Rodón. And Boone came out to maybe pull Rodón, and it was decided that they were going to keep him in. Rodón ended up throwing 109 pitches. A lot of work for him. And we'll see if he pitches in the All-Star game. He may not, honestly. Those things you never know. There's always a couple of pitchers that don't end up going. Rodón could be one of them. We'll see. And then in the 8th, Cody Bellinger, and it was close. Pete Crow Armstrong almost robbed it. So a lot of the same players involved in this. Crow Armstrong, Tucker, Judge. Bellinger, of course, is the one hitting it. But Bellinger, this one goes out. 3rd homer of the night, 16th of the season, makes it 10-0 Yankees. And then for good measure, Paul Goldschmidt, RBI double, makes it 11-0. And then Scott Effross, the former Cub. He was traded from the Cubs to the Yankees in 2022. Effross with a scoreless 9th inning. Like I said about Effross, who pitches in game 2. There's a chance that I think that maybe he could find his way into somewhat higher leverage situations based on some struggles by some other members of the bullpen. And it seemed as if, Ian Hamilton got a crack at it in the 3rd game, and it didn't really work out. I wonder if Effross can slowly but surely move his way up. Again, it more speaks to the bullpen than him, but he has had success before in this league. So we go to game 2. And the Yankees offense was really, really held down. And Max Fried had his struggles. And in games 2 and 3 is where, more game 3, I guess, where there was some defensive miscues. But game 2 also, we'll talk about that. Game 2, yeah, both games were kind of on the sloppy side. Not horrible, not like what we saw maybe, a week or 2 ago, but not great. And so Fried loses to drop to 11-3, 3 innings, 6 hits, 4 runs, 3 of those earned, 3 walks, and 2 strikeouts. What I've noticed for Fried, and maybe it's coincidental, is that he has had his struggles against National League teams. He's done amazing against the American League, which is great, because now he's an American League pitcher. But you just wonder, with him having been in the National League for years, if there's just more of that familiar sense against Fried with some of these lineups, right? When he faces the Cubs, the Dodgers, the Mets. Again, don't know for sure if that's the thing, but I do think the stats probably back that up. So Fried, it wasn't as if he was beat around, but even before the blister thing, which occurs late in the 3rd inning, he wasn't his normal self. For the Cubs, Matthew Boyd, who's an all-star, improves to 10-3. An amazing season for the veteran. 8 innings, 4 hits, no runs, no walks, and 6 strikeouts. Just fantastic work by Boyd. In this game, Ben Rice on the bench against the lefty, as well as Jason Dominguez. So Trent Grisham back in there. Austin Wells back in there. And in the 1st inning, it's a leadoff triple for Nico Hoerner on a play that Trent Grisham, at worst for the Yankees, it should have been a double. Grisham is clearly still dealing with the hamstring. To me, why even play in this game? In this game 2, he didn't play games 1 or 3. Like, why even bother with the All-Star break? Whatever. Roll out Dominguez. And we'll talk about Dominguez in game 3 and some of my concerns with him defensively, but still, there's no need. Grisham could have had a full-fledged week plus off. But they didn't want to go about it that way, and it kind of has affected them on the field too, because Grisham the range has not quite been there. Triple for Hoerner, then an RBI granted for Tucker gives the Cubs an early 1-0 lead. 3rd inning is where things kind of unravel a bit. Some bad luck as well. Where Carson Kelly gets on a 2nd and 3rd no-out situation. Carson Kelly with a ground ball off the glove of Peraza. It wasn't really Peraza's fault. It deflects off his glove, and then Volpe, it goes past Volpe as well. That one, I'm going to drop to just kind of wrong place, wrong time. Makes it 2-0 Cubs. Then the problem from there is you end up getting at least 1 run that shouldn't have happened. A potential double play ball that really probably wouldn't have been. A 5-4-3 possibility on a 1st and 3rd 1-out spot for Dansby Swanson, and Jazz just airmails it Chuck Knobloch style, for those that remember. And so 3-0 Cubs. Swanson was probably going to be safe. I don't have a problem with Chisholm like throwing it. It's just a terrible throw. And that does lead to an RBI single by Ian Happ makes it 4-0. If Jazz doesn't make that bad throw, the inning probably ends 3-0. So I'm not going to make it seem like, oh, 2-run score, because I don't think that Jazz, even with an accurate throw, gets Swanson. But that fourth run wouldn't have happened. Feel pretty strongly about that. So Fried would hurt the blister in an at-bat against former Yankee John Birdie. Second to last pitch. Then he threw a changeup in the last one, and then he was out. It wasn't pitching that well anyway, but still, that's a concern. Hopefully Fried is not out too long. He shouldn't be, but it doesn't mean he won't miss a start or two. That is possible. So Matthew Boyd just doing well. Yankee bullpen does a mostly good job. 1-2-3 inning from Ian Hamilton. Again, keep in mind they're down 4-0. And the one real big offensive catalyst of this game was Aaron Judge, who had a couple of doubles off of Boyd, and then we'll talk about what he did in the ninth. But in the sixth, actually 2 scoreless innings from Hamilton, which kind of makes his appearance in game 3 even a little bit more somewhat perplexing. But also I kind of get it too, based on the state of the pen. Efros with the scoreless 6th. And then in the 7th, Loaisiga goes 1-2-3. And I just feel like there's times where they push these guys too far. Loaisiga gives up another homer. 7th homer of the season he's allowed. It's Carson Kelly hitting his 12th homer of the year, makes it 5-0 Cubs. And, so what was a good Loaisiga outing ends up not being one. And he really needs to clean things up, Loaisiga. He has not really been someone that you can trust. Tim Hill finishes out the inning with 3 quick outs. And then in the ninth, JT Brubaker pitches a scoreless 9th inning. Then in the bottom 9th, Brad Keller, the righty, comes on. I would have pinch hit for Paul Goldschmidt with either Dominguez or Rice, but they're not at the point where they will pinch hit Goldschmidt against righties. Bellinger extends his hitting streak at the time with a ground rule double. So that was good to extend the hitting streak to 17 games. And then Aaron Judge, opposite field home run, 35th homer of the year. Cal Raleigh has 38 home runs, which is nuts. And Cal Raleigh will be in the home run derby, as will Jazz Chisholm Jr. See how that goes. But Judge was a bright spot in this game for sure. 3 for 4, 2 doubles, a home run. Just crazy stuff from Judge. Then Stanton's hit by a pitch. So they bring on Daniel Palencia, who has been great. Looked really good for the Cubs. He's been like their new closer. And he strikes out Chisholm. And then Grisham grinds out to end it. So Yankees were kind of one batter shy of getting the tying run up, and they lose it 5-2. And then we go to game 3. And game 3 was somewhat similar. I mean, this game 3 felt different because the game was closer later on, but kind of the end result ends up being really about the same. Will Warren didn't have his best stuff, but honestly, it's kind of a hard luck loss. Loses to drop to 6-5, 5 1/3 innings, 6 hits, 2 runs, 3 walks, 1 strikeout. So again, 3 walks, 1 strikeout, really bad ratio, but yet he made the pitches he needs to kind of just limit the damage. So that's growth from Warren, right? Where he didn't have his ace stuff and still was able to keep the Yankees very much in the game. And that second run he allowed was, it was an inherited run allowed by Ian Hamilton. For the Cubs, Shota Imanaga. Win improves to 6-3, 7 innings, 2 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, and 6 strikeouts. Again, Boyd and Imanaga were great. As far as the lineup goes, Grisham out, Rice out. And, that's kind of to be expected against lefties. Certainly in the case of Rice, in the case of Grisham Dominguez, you kind of have to pick your poison. And it's a bit of a hole in this lineup. And to me, that one of those guys essentially has to be in against a lefty. Not ideal. So leadoff guy, Michael Busch, home run. 19th homer of the year, just like that, 1-0 Cubs. But the Yankees tied up Giancarlo Stanton, who's been good lately. Hits his 4th homer of the season. Opposite field shot, ties it up at 1. Jazz walks and then is caught stealing. And it feels like the Yankees very inefficient when it comes to steals. Their stolen base numbers on the whole probably net out to somewhere in the middle of the pack, but a lot of caught stealings, just not great efficiency. I want them to be aggressive, but again, too many caught stealings, it feels like, from this team. And then from there, Imanaga just cruised. And then the Yankees in the 6th inning, Warren gives up a leadoff double to Kelly, then a ground up by Happ. And in theory, you could have left Warren in. I would have been fine. He was at 88 pitches. Like, I would have been fine with that. And then Ian Hamilton, who pitched 2 innings the day before, gives up a 2-run homer to Dansby Swanson, 16th homer of the year. It feels like with Hamilton, in the mop-up situations, Hamilton's coming through, but in spots where you need Hamilton in high leverage, he's not. That's what I feel, because his numbers are good lately. But yeah, I can remember certain situations that he's messed up in tight ball games. So that makes it 3-1 Cubs right there. You get a Wells single to start at the sixth, but then a Peraza pop out and a Goldschmidt double play ends that quickly. And then Sam Hill, who's so good against lefties, but does have a struggle against righties. 2 quick outs. Oh, and I should have mentioned, sorry. The double by Kelly, Jason Dominguez, that's a ball that a good left fielder, and they make the catch. He needs to improve the defense. There's things with Dominguez's game that you love, and there's things with his game that you hate. That's really what it is. And he's so young, right? Like, I think that I'm excited for his future, and he's making real contributions now. You know, he's a really good lefty. He's got a ton of speed. There's a lot to like with him. His defense scares me. And even though it's been better from the right side lately, it's not something you want. And in the playoffs, when you really need that defense, Dominguez may find his way on the bench. I'm just saying, like, certainly against lefties. Certainly against lefties, right? Maybe not against righties, maybe not so much that. But he needs to improve the defense for sure. Now, speaking of more defensive stuff in the seventh, here's where the Volpe conversation takes on some more weight. So Suzuki with a double, 2-out double, and that's a play that Judge could have made. He could have, to be honest. It wasn't easy, but the inning continues. And then Pete Crow Armstrong gets an infield RBI single on a spin around a play by Volpe. And there was a few Volpe plays today. Earlier in the game, he had a really sort of weak throw where the runner beat it out. It didn't cause any problems. This one, not going to go crazy on Volpe here. Would it have been better to just eat it? Yeah, but I guess he felt like he could get Crow Armstrong, but it needed to be a better throw. It wasn't, and Goldschmidt wasn't quick enough to make the throw home. So blame goes to both of them, Goldschmidt as well. And so Suzuki scores from second on an infield single, just not good there on where Hill seemed like he was out of the inning. Luke Weaver finishes out the seventh. He also pitches the eighth, and this was where the inning continued. Runner on first, 2 out. Volpe gets a ground ball to short, and he backs up on it, makes a pretty soft throw, and Swanson beats that at second. Also, Jazz didn't do a great job. He should have acted like a first baseman and stretched out for it, but still, Volpe either needs to just charge it and make the quick play, make a stronger throw, or go to first. And that's inexcusable. For that to be safe there is crazy. So Volpe's not hitting or playing defense. But Weaver gets out of the inning. Drew Pomeranz comes on in the eighth, pitches a 1-2-3 eighth. Devin Williams, who's been really good, pitches a 1-2-3 ninth. And then Palencia makes quick work of the Yanks, and it's over. Bellinger's hitting streak ends. Yankees lose the series to the Cubs, going into the All-Star break. Yankee record 53-43. They haven't been great lately. I mean, it seemed as if a corner was turned that last Met game. I mean, the Yanks were on a 5-game winning streak going into these last 2, but again, before that was just horrible play. So, they have not, on the whole, they just haven't really been great lately. So, we got the All-Star game now. We got Jazz Chisholm Jr. in the Home Run Derby. As far as the All-Star game itself goes, you might see Carlos Rodón. You'll definitely see Aaron Judge starting, and you'll see Jazz Chisholm Jr. coming in off the bench. And then the Yankees will stay in Atlanta. Certainly those All-Stars, and play the Braves. A very disappointing first half plus for the Braves. A team that for sure had playoff aspirations, got off to a really bad start, kind of rebounded, and then just, fell off again. And despite the fact that Ronald Acuna Jr. just came back and has been really good, but there's been injuries there, but even beyond that, it's been a surprise they've been as poor as they've been. Their record sits at 42-53, but all that to say, that will not be an easy series. It definitely won't be for the Yankees. Because I still think this Atlanta team, it's still got talent up and down the roster. So this will be a tough 6-game road trip, because after that, the Yankees go back to Toronto. Very quick turnaround with the Blue Jays at Rogers Center. So you got some tough opponents coming out of the break for sure. After that, you got home against the Phillies, home against the Rays. So it's a time, and then that's where the deadline happens, right? So you have about 4 big series coming up, and hopefully the Yankees are going to be wheeling and dealing. They need to do it because this team needs to make a lot of improvements. When the offense is on, it's really, really on, like as good as it gets on. But sometimes against good pitching, they have had some struggles. And again, like that's not different than any other team, but there is a bit of a feast or famine element to the Yankees. Hence why they've also lost a lot of close games, like where the run differential is so good, they will beat up on certain pitchers. But a lot of the times it goes the other way too. So we'll see what happens. But again, Yankees lose at Yankee Stadium, ending the homestand, losing 2 of 3 games to the Chicago Cubs as they will head into the All-Star break. And coming out of the All-Star break, they will head to Atlanta to take on the Braves.